Bing bong.
What up?
Friday night, baby. We're here. We're live. Mock draft live. This time, NFL mock draft live. Not rookie, not super flex, not one QB, not redraft, not best ball, not super flex, not dynasty.
NFL first round mock, baby. We are the GMs. We had a little draft earlier today. What franchises we were taking over for the NFL draft, and we are locked and loaded. But there will be no trades this time. This time. Maybe next time, but not this time. No trades. We're locked into our draft spots.
So I'm going to pop this up on the screen just so that people can see who's drafting where, and you can see that it's microscopic as hell. There we go. So we drafted these picks.
Mm-hmm.
This is the order of how they got selected. And then this right here, this is the order and who we'll be picking. So you'll see a couple times where Matty will have back-to-backs. I'll have back-to-backs as we go. I'll have 3 in a row at the end to just hammer out some donkeys. And then this one's not going to be showing on the screen, but we're going to give Matty another pick just so we both have 16 here and give him the Pittsburgh 33rd overall pick so we get a full 32 in with this bad boy tonight. So here is the mock. We're going to pop it up right here on the screen ski. And as you can tell, number 101 on the board goes to Matty Kiwoom and the Carolina Panthers, the general manager of the Carolina Panthers, Matty Kiwoom, representing Boston, Mass. Where are you going?
So I am going with CJ Stroud here with the 101, the most pro-ready quarterback. He probably doesn't have the highest ceiling, but he does present probably the highest floor. Given how much they traded to move up, or how much we traded to move up, I want to go CJ Stroud with the 101 and start building my franchise, baby.
All right, if you are in the chat, let me know if you can see the screen, see if I can double tap, zoom in a little bit. We're trying these new layouts, I guess you'd say, on StreamYard. It's kind of different, making it kind of goofy to play with, but we'll see. This is it makes the players hard to find, but whatever. Trying to see the most out of possible. But anyway, John, Nate, see you guys in the chat. Appreciate you guys coming in. Number 101, like you said, CJ Stroud, I like it. I got the 102, and earlier we were going to start the show at about 7:30, go for about an hour and a half. We discussed possibly doing trades.
Yes, we did.
And I tweeted this one out earlier where I thought that 102 and 103, if Houston could possibly put together a package to move up from 12 to 3 and have back-to-back picks here, I think that would be an ideal world. But I don't obviously think that they're ready to win now. So they're going to try and keep that 2 first-round picks this year, 2 first-round picks next year, and try to get Caleb Williams or Drake May. I think that's probably going to be the play instead of going Bryce and Will Anderson, for example, here. So if I'm the GM, personally, I'm going defense here. I'm taking Jalen Carter. But for the sake of this mock, because I really think that Houston, what they're really going to do, I think they're really going to take Bryce Young because I think they want to get the quarterback to kind of be the offense, be the focal point of that side of the football where they have D'Amico Ryans as the head honcho or the quarterback of the defensive side of the ball as the coach. You got to have a stud on the other side, and Bryce, I think they think is a stud. I don't, but they do. Roll with him. Bryce
at the 102. So when we were going to originally allow trades, I had to send a little mole in, a little spy to see where you were going with the 102 because I was getting ready to trade out of the 103, and the team that I wanted to move up was going to take Anthony Richardson. But since we are not doing trades here, I am going to keep it simple, keep it short. Will Anderson, I think he's the best pass rusher in the class. He is a freak. He has been hyped for years now, and he would be absolutely a great find here for the Cardinals at 103.
I can't argue with it. I mean, I think obviously in an ideal world, they trade out. We kind of discussed that earlier. We discussed that. Everybody's discussed it. If someone's going to move up for a quarterback, they need to go to 3 because they're kind of the team that is so evidently in a rebuild scenario. I don't know what they're going to do, but they should not make this pick. As good as Will is, as good as Jalen Carter is, they should not make this pick. But for this sake, no trades. Will Anderson goes number 3 overall to the Cardinals. They need somebody to fill in that edge position, and what better than the best in the class, Will Anderson. So I'm sitting here now at the 104, and I have Indianapolis on the clock. Seattle, Detroit are next. You are Seattle and Detroit. I think both teams could use a quarterback. I think we've talked about this many times where the Colts should go, and that is quarterback. and there's also been some news this past week that maybe from like Lance Zierlein and some others I've heard that are kind of that Chris Ballard will not force anything he doesn't feel right. If he doesn't feel it's right to make this move and take the quarterback here, he will not do it. He'll wait until the late part of round 1 or the early part of round 2 and try to trade up and get a Hendon Hooker type, something like this. But based on them only signing Gardner Minshew in free agency, I think they're going to spend a first-round pick on a quarterback because I do not think they're going to roll out Gardner Minshew as much as I love him. I don't think they're going to try and purposefully roll him out week 1 with the intention of playing him for 18 weeks. And what that means is Will Levis, because Will Levis doesn't need as much time to marinate as Anthony Richardson does. Levis fits this offense best. I've talked about this one many times with you, with Randall Memphis Young on the Mind the Mansion on many shows. And today was Will Levis's pro day. Lots and lots and lots and lots of tweets on the Twitter about Will Levis today. It's just one of those things. And it's, oh, look, it's the next coming of Zach Wilson. Well, here's the thing, buddy. Both Bryce and both CJ made plays the last 2 days. Nobody tweeted anything negative about them, even though there's no overhead cams of CJ Stroud throwing downfield, and the one of Bryce Young that he missed downfield. He threw the ball like 3 yards over the top of his wide receiver. You know, we're not seeing any flack for either of those guys. So I'm not even going to say anything. That's it. Will Levis is the pick. Goes to Indianapolis. I think that's one of the locks of this draft right now that we do know is Stroud to Panthers. I think Bryce is all but a lock at 2, and then Levis, I think at 4 is a lock. As much as I love Anthony Richardson, think he's going to be a stud, I think that these 3 quarterbacks and these 3 landing spots, assuming nobody trades to 3, are locks.
I've said it before too. I love the Will Levis Michael Pittman Jr. connection. It's going to remind me so much of Jay Cutler and Brandon Marshall, which absolutely dominated in the NFL and in fantasy. So love that there. Makes sense to grab that quarterback in your 4th overall pick and keep it rocking. You know, they've had too many old, dusty bums over there for the last couple of years. So I completely agree with that. Here at the 105, I did a TikTok. I did a tweet about this. I think that if the Anthony Richardson is on the board at the 105, the Seattle Seahawks would be donkeys, a group full of hee-haw donkeys if they don't take this kid. He is the number 1 athletic quarterback in this class and all time. Geno Smith said he wants to compete with a young one, but he's also willing to teach, kind of take on that mentorship role. And Pete Carroll has proven time and time again that he can absolutely get the most out of his quarterbacks. Look what he did with Russ over those 10 years. And then he gets Geno Smith and gets the most out of him in his 1 year so far with Seattle. So I think this is a dynamite landing spot. And I think you need to look out on the clock to see a interdivisional trade where they move up to 3 to make sure they can lock in their guy. But I'm taking him here at the 104, at the 105. I got back-to-back picks.
And hold up. You got to ask this question. You think that there's a possibility that Seattle would jump the Colts? And you think the Cardinals would trade with them?
I think that they'd have to overpay because they are in the division. But I do think that when you're in the situation that the Cardinals are in, you don't have the luxury of turning down a haul. And this is what I think Seattle can provide. They have a whole bunch of picks. I mean, truthfully, if they really do love A-Rich, they could absolutely use the 20th overall pick to jump up 2 spots. I mean, it might be an overpay, but if they feel like he's the guy, and I think he's a perfect fit in that franchise to take them to the next level after Geno kind of walks away. So I think it's possible. But yeah, the interdivisional trades are tough. But like I said, Arizona is not in the position to be picky. Now, all the quarterbacks are off the board. Of course, Detroit would. They have said actually throughout the draft process that they're not putting themselves in any particular corner. They're not ruling out the idea of drafting a quarterback. They're going to draft the best player available. And in this situation, the best player available might be the best player in this entire draft. And that's why I will take Jalen Carter here at the 106 if I am the GM of the Detroit Lions. He is a house of a kid. He's got some off the field things he's going to have to work through, but we've seen that it seems as if it's going to work. It's going to get situated. It's going to get solved. So he's going to be there, and then matching him up with Aiden Hutchinson, and that front line becomes absolutely bonkos. 48 QB hurries in his last 2 years at Georgia. We saw his PFF grades go up each of his 3 years there. Absolute dynamite pick. And man, you're talking about possibly one of the best young defensive lines in a long time if you could put these two kids together.
That's a dynamite. I think you said it best. That's a dynamite defensive line right there. If you can put Carter in Detroit with him, and I think that's a team where, you know, they're going to do their due diligence. And I know that there's been a lot of conversation over the last few weeks about Jalen Carter negatively. But if there's one team and there's one guy, it's Dan Campbell that's going to, you know, get to the bottom of what Jalen Carter is. And see if he can make him into that stud, and see if it's okay. Yes, he's an off the field donkey, and on the field he's an animal. How are we going to tame that off the field donkey? That's kind of the thing that they have to figure out. Or if he's just had a bad month. I mean, he had a teammate pass. He had the obviously the off
drag
the field,
racing, whatever you call it,
the drag racing thing, which is what led to the death. That's gonna be weighing heavy, man. This guy's getting 21 years old. Like that's gotta weigh heavy on a dude. And then going right into the combine, leaving the combine, coming back to the combine, going to his pro day, and just being overweight. Like shit happens. And I think, you know, getting through it, I think, is the big thing. And I want to see kind of where he goes in this draft, because it is interesting. If he's passing those off the field interviews with these teams, I don't think there's a question that he's still a top 10 pick. Some people are floating out there that, yeah, he should fall in this draft. Yes, he should fall into the teens, et cetera, et cetera. But if he's passing off-field interviews and teams believe in him, best believe he's going to belong in a spot just like this at pick 6, pick 8 to the Falcons, or pick 9, of course, to the Bears. I think that's the floor. If he falls to the Eagles and they pair him up with Jordan Davis, there's going to be a lot of GMs that get fired because they allowed that to happen. And that's going to sound like, oh, it's just a couple defensive linemen. But it's like, no, you're allowing – do you remember how fucking good that Georgia defensive line was 2 years ago?
Right.
When it was Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and Nakobe Dean directly behind him. And guess who the linebacker is in Philadelphia right now? Nakobe Dean playing behind Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter again for the next decade. That's going to be –
good luck running the ball up the middle with those two bricks absolutely clogging up the works.
That's how you fix it, though. That's exactly how you fix it. So you had 2 back-to-back picks. Now I got 2 back-to-back picks. I got the Raiders and I got the Falcons. I got the Falcons.
Damn, not often do I hear your Minnesota come out. I got the Falcons.
All right, so Raiders, they got Jimmy G. They gave him the fat contract. There's no quarterbacks on the board for me to take right now for these guys. Best available per PFF is Devon Witherspoon, Tyree Wilson, Quentin Johnston, Christian Gonzalez, but it's okay because I don't care, because I have a big board on Player Profiler that I'm going to use, and I have the consensus big board and mock draft database that I'm going to use to tell me who the best players are available, because I don't think Tyree Wilson deserves to be in the conversation. However, he is. Now, at pick number 7, quarterback, offensive line, D-back are the needs. In my last mock draft, I had them trading up to number 1 to get CJ Stroud. In this mock draft, I'm going to keep them standing pat, and they're going to go after the cornerback out of Oregon, Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez has the length. Christian Gonzalez, it's in his family to be an Olympic sprinter. He's 20 and a half years old. He ran a 4.38. He's best comparable to Marshawn Lattimore for a reason, and he's the second most athletic cornerback in the database at Player Profiler in 2023, 31st all time with a 104.5 real athleticism score. Tap in over there at Christian Gonzalez on Player Profiler. Put him in Las Vegas.
Love that pick for them. I think that would be an absolute home run of a pick for them. They are deprived with that type of athlete on their defensive side of the ball. Big, fast, really, I mean, as comparable as a Jalen Ramsey as we've seen over the last few years. So I do think that would be a home run pick. He is my CB1.
Now, Falcons. I think you need a beat a help here. There's no quarterback off the board right here. I don't think there's a wide receiver. I think they're going to go wide receiver.
No wide receiver there, eh?
Why did I go Canada? I just went from Minnesota to Fargo. Now you just went to Canada.
Yeah. Wait, Fargo has their own accent?
Oh, yeah. Don't you know that?
No.
You never watched the movie Fargo?
I actually haven't.
You need to go watch it for about 5 minutes and you'll understand right quick, man.
Oh, I'm going to stick to Canadian because I can kind of do that. Okay, you holster, I'll play some hockey, eh?
All righty. So we're looking at the Atlanta Falcons. We're looking at pick number 8. edge linebacker in this range. Yes, Jalen Carter, I think, would have been a great fit right here for these guys. I've never done a mock draft live. You ever done a mock draft like this live? This makes it entirely different because going through these drafts, you have to look at a bunch of different ranges of outcomes. There's things to research as far as visits and things like this. So this draft we might miss a few picks in here as far as ideally and miss some players, but this is a little different. It's my first time doing this. Falcons is a tough one because I think the Falcons could use a number of guys on the defensive line right here. One that's my favorite. I think Nolan Smith. I think Nolan Smith would be a great fit in this defense. Particularly, I like Lukas Van Ness, but I like Lukas Van Ness also much more in Chicago or Philadelphia, which are upcoming picks. Tyree Wilson has fallen to this pick right here at pick 8. Tyree Wilson's a guy that got mocked all the way up to pick number 3. Right now, he's a consensus number 5 to Seattle, 6 to Detroit, and a couple people have him falling to 8. But that is about where the floor ends up. Matthew Friedman, our friend from Fantasy Pros, has him going 10. I'm not going to go with Tyree Wilson. I think we're going to see a Tyree Wilson slip here unless you take him one of these next picks. But I think the answer to the test for the Atlanta Falcons might just be offensive line. It might just be offensive line. And for me, I would lean towards going tackle or bringing a Skoronski in here. Mm-hmm. I'm going Myles Murphy.
Oh, baby. You said top 10, and they have been linked to Myles Murphy directly.
You're the mock draft index dog. You've been my man. You come in, you collect all this data for the mock draft index for me for all these old mocks. Myles Murphy right here.
In my hard hat.
According to PFF, his ADP was 22. I think it just disappeared. Now it's gone. But if you're looking at the mock draft index on the mock draft database, he's going 13th overall. If you look on Player Profiler on the mock draft index, Myles Murphy is currently going 15.6. I'm putting him right here at pick number 8 because he hasn't tested yet through this process, and his testing is going to come in very, very well. And he's got a workout coming on, I think, April 4th at Clemson, where it's just going to be him. And I think that's a big. Atlanta is in that area. Atlanta will be there. Atlanta will see his workout, and I think Atlanta needs a Myles Murphy on that defense.
No, I can't agree with you. I can't disagree with you there. They could absolutely use him, and he's got that motor. Atlanta's in this weird position now where they're kind of just, if they just make some good picks and they can finally get a quarterback in town, maybe it's Ritter, maybe it's someone else. I do think they're going to be, really terrorize that division because it is one of the weakest in the NFL. I'm up here with the Chicago Bears. I've seen people mocking JSN here. I think that's tomfoolery. I think that's absolute shenanigans. Why would they go after a guy like that when they have DJ Moore? They have Chase Claypool's nothing to write home about, but they traded the 32nd overall pick for him. And they also have Darnell Mooney, who has a 1,000-yard season under his belt. So I do not think that they go wide receiver here. So where I'm looking at is tackle. Do they go Peter Skoronski or do they go Paris Johnson? My gut, and if I was the GM, I know he's a little bit more raw. He might have a bit of a learning curve. There's been some criticism of his use of hands. He could improve that. But give me the monster from Ohio State. I'm going Paris Johnson. I know Peter Skoronski's in their backyard, but I'm going with Paris Johnson because I think he has the ultimate upside to be that absolute smash left tackle that they have for the basically entirety of the Fields era. So give me Paris Johnson here.
Did you see that workout yesterday that they put him through?
I mean, I can't even move like that, and I'm half his size. I'm as round, but I'm not as strong or big. The kid's 6'6", and he's so fluid.
I would have loved to be at that pro day. Shout out to Ohio State for rejecting us. And I would have loved to see and hear what the coaches said when they pushed him into that workout, because having him jump and do like a jump 180 and then land and then kick step and move backwards, I thought that was very interesting. Obviously, it shows extreme athleticism. Right. His kick steps also, when he was doing those for like a 20-yard drop, oh my, power explosion. Like Paris looks fantastic. I saw a lot of people on Twitter giving him shouts about that. That was pretty cool. But I think Paris Campbell, Chicago, is a great landing spot because they need to protect Fields. They've went out, they've got DJ Moore, they got Darnell, they got a second tight end now that's not What was old boy's name that they had a couple
Bobby
years ago?
Tunyon. Oh, a
Yeah,
couple
but
years ago.
who was the asshole that they had 2 years ago that was just like annoying every time he caught a touchdown? I was like, oh, of course it's him and not Cole Kmet.
Adam Sheehan, right?
There you go. Thank you. And then they got Deonte, they got Khalil Herbert. I think they go get another running back. Also, they got Ebner. Like, they're starting to build an offense in here. And I think Braxton Jones last year in the 5th round, Tevin Jenkins last year in the 2 years ago in the 2nd round. Now you're bringing a Paris Johnson, and you can move probably Braxton on the inside or whatever you feel like doing. Tevin to the inside, whichever way. I think that'd be a great fit for Paris Johnson to go to the Chicago Bears. I'm on the clock with pick 10 right here. Tyree's still popping his head, but we're going to scroll right past him for one reason. Wow, they really got right there.
Yep.
Never started a game in his career at Iowa. Lukas Van Ness falls to number 10, which I think is exactly where he should go. They need help on the defensive line. They needed help last year. They need a little pass rush. And there's one guy that gave everybody fits last year in college football in the Big Ten. And guys like Paris Johnson. He lined up against Paris Johnson. He lined up against Skoronski. He made Skoronski look like a sophomore in high school playing against a Division I stud. And I think Lukas Van Ness deserves to be up here. Paris Johnson did good against him, but Van Ness still gave him some heavies. And I think that Van Ness in Philadelphia would be a great fit. So I'm putting him here at number 10.
That would be, the rich get richer here with Lukas Van Ness. They lose a little bit of pass rushing, and they get, in my opinion, other than Will Anderson, the biggest freak on that side of the ball in terms of pass rush. Great pick there with the 10th pick. I am up with 111 and the Tennessee Titans, and I am going to take the most polished left tackle in the draft. I'm going to take Peter Skoronski here, the unsexy pick. But when you are having trouble keeping your quarterback upright, I don't care if it's Tannehill, Malik Willis, or anyone else. You need to keep him upright. Taylor Lewan is gone. Their offensive line is in shambles. This kid is a stud. He and on top of just being able to protect the quarterback on all facets, the pass blocking grade has been better than the run blocking grade. And I think that's going to be pivotal when you're trying to keep either a young quarterback upright or whatever. So give me Peter Skoronski here with the 111 of the Tennessee Titans as they start kind of retooling because they're kind of a flailing roster at the moment.
Tim Miller in the chat. I just want to say, no offense to you, but if you think Tyree Wilson to Philadelphia would be a better fit and not Van Ness, I would implore you to go watch a little more Van Ness and implore you to go watch a little more Tyree Wilson because Tyree Wilson was not a problem for anybody in 2020 and 2022. I don't know really why he's getting the conversations that he is in top 10, but Van Ness is a motherfucker and he's athletic.
Yes.
And I think he fits exactly what Philadelphia wants. Like I said, no disrespect. I'm just saying I think you really should go watch a little more Van Ness, especially against Skoronski and against Paris Johnson. I think you're going to be very happy with a guy like Van Ness falling to you at pick number 10. And I think that's a much more likely selection than a Tyree Wilson would be, even if Tyree was on the board. Now to your pick at pick number 11, you said Skoronski right here for the Tennessee Titans.
The big dog.
Give you the big dog with the short T-Rex arms. I love the pick there. When you look at the mock draft database, the projection right now, the consensus projection has these flipped. Skoronski to the Bears and Paris Johnson to Tennessee. But I would agree with you after the pro days, what we've seen so far. I like it. I like where you're at right here. I'm back on the clock. I took Bryce Young at number 2 overall with the Houston Texarkanans. And I think right here at the 12th pick, we're looking at defensive line. Right. This is exactly what I thought about earlier. I was like, we need to look at trading up, maybe get a Will Anderson at 3, take a quarterback at 2. But now our guy, Tim, gets his player to come off the board. That's Tyree Wilson. Tyree fell far enough. This is probably the range he belongs in just because of the athleticism, the length. I think it's like an 83. I might be wrong. I can't remember the arm length. I'm not going to say it. But it's long as shit regardless. He's got a big frame, and I think he fits well in any defense as just a guy that can play 5. He can play out to 7. He's not going to be the most aggressive. He's not on the Myles Murphy's level. He's not on Lukas Van Ness's level. He's not on Will Anderson's level. But I do think he belongs in that 3rd tier at the edge position. However, in this draft, he's going to end up being a top 15 pick. Tyree Wilson, 12 to the Houston Texans. He stays in Texas, so few teams should know him better, right? They should have had a scout probably at every single game. They should have a good feel for what he is. Houston Texans, Tyree Wilson.
So now I am up here with the New England Patriots, my hometown New England Patriots.
You
I
skipped the
would.
Jets, dog. You skipped the Jets.
Did I? Oh, well,
Yeah,
then
you're good.
you're up
You're good.
with the Jets
It's
for
pretty. It's pretty
back-to-back
easy.
pick.
It's
I
pretty
am a
easy.
Patriots fan, so fuck the Jets.
I'll make this one quick. They're going to get the second best player in the entire draft. And
Yep.
Nolan Smith.
Yep.
Outside linebacker, edge rusher from Georgia. Incredibly overlooked at the time. I think he fits amazingly in this New York Jets defense.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Fred Warner. This is the Micah Parsons piece that is the Isaiah Simmons piece, the hybrid joker that you can just put in this defense and really bring it together. I know there's obviously rumors of this pick being part of that Aaron Rodgers pick or trade, but I will say this one time and one time only. If pick 13 was a part of the Aaron Rodgers trade and it was going to happen, it would have already happened. Because if it was going to be pick 13, it would be only pick 13.
Mm-hmm.
It would be only pick 13, not pick 13 and a flip. I think what you're talking about right now is you're looking at a second for Rodgers or a second with a conditional third or a second and a second with conditions. You're not going to be looking at pick 13. That's way too much draft capital for Aaron Rodgers with 1 year guaranteed. They're keeping this pick. It's Nolan Smith. Plug him in on this defense. CJ Mosley's in this defense. Sauce Gardner, Michael Carter, Quinnen Williams. You got some studs on this defense, and I think you're going to plug him in right there. Day one, $, double-digit sacks. Give me Nolan Smith. Now you're on the clock with the New Orleans Patriots.
I absolutely hate that pick for the Jets because I think it's a dynamite pick. I think it's a great pick, and I think he could terrorize the AFC East. I don't love it. But I also think your point about if that was the pick going to Rodgers, it would have already happened because both teams need to have their ducks in order. We're 4 weeks away from the draft. So whether you're going to have that pick or not have that pick, you need to allocate your resources properly. So you need to make that decision now. And I do agree with you. I don't think this happens on draft night or a day before. I think that if that was going to happen, it would have happened already. I am going up now with the New England Patriots. And the signing of Juju Smith-Schuster, although I don't mind it, I do think it was a pretty good one. I am kind of in the minority thinking that I think it was a better signing than Jakobi Meyers because I do believe he has better yak ability, and I think he can do a little bit more, although Meyers is great at winning against man, so that's true. But because of that signing, I am not going JSN here. If I was the GM, I would not pair up JSN and Juju. I do not think that's a really good tandem for this team. So I'm going to go with the unsexy pick, and I'm going to take Broderick Jones, left tackle from Georgia. Did not give up a single sack this year. They need to shore up their offensive line. They haven't now had Deonte Scarnecchia for the last couple of years, so they're not getting that extra coaching that they're used to. They need to get a stud. You know, Bill Belichick, he has a pipeline down to Georgia. He kind of whiffed on Isaiah Wynn, but I don't think he's going to whiff here. I do like Broderick Jones. He has a lot of similar kind of rawness as a Paris Johnson. He's not as ceiling. He doesn't have that ceiling that Johnson has, but you know, they say that the kid's very dialed in. He has good focus. He has a strong mental. That's part of his game is his good mentality. Perfect for the Patriots. So I'm taking Broderick Jones here with the 114.
Ooh, buddy. So there was one pick right here in my last mock 4.0 at playerprofiler.com. You can check out all of these things. I'll just show it right here over here on the screen quickly while we're sharing tabs. This is mock 4.0. The NFL draft section, you should check it out. It's right here, top left. Bang, bang. The entire draft order is right here with trade conditions at the bottom. You also have the mock draft index that my boy Matty Kiwoom helps me fill out each week, and it gives you a consensus ADP of the top 100 guys in the draft by everybody. So you can see Draft Network, ESPN, Player Profiler, etc., and the NFL Draft Big Board, which is my grades. The grades are not showing yet. Those will be populated in the next 48 hours, but you can see my top 150. I just did a show called the Future Cast. You can find that on podcast and on YouTube, where I talked through my top 135 currently at the running back, quarterback positions, and then mock draft and analysis, where you can check out all articles that are talking about drafting. And you can see we redrafted 2017, breakout finders, top 5 values, top 5 surprises. Check out your boy Charlie Jones right here. NFL Draft Prospect Profiles written up by boy Jonathan Lang, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson's coming out in the next couple days, and then all the way down to mock drafts and write-ups on players. You can check that stuff out at playerprofiler.com. Now, I'm going to share my tab, and we're going to go right back to this draft. We got 25 minutes left. We got to get through 17 picks, so we're right on pace. We're dialed in because the show after this, you stay on this channel, 8 p.m., The Dominator with the Podfather and Billy Muzio. They will be drafting live in the FFPC $125 way too early championships. But pick 15 right here, like I talked about. My other mock draft I just completed a couple weeks ago, I have Darnell Wright from Tennessee going to the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Green Bay Packers have Zach Tom currently at right tackle slotted in, 4th-round pick last year from Wake Forest. They have Bakhtiari at left tackle. Do they trust Bakhtiari to stay healthy? I don't know. I'm not going to go tackle in this draft. For the sake of this draft, I'm going to do something I tweeted about yesterday. This might catch you by surprise here. They're going wide receiver.
Oh, I love it. I love that pick.
We have not had a wide receiver go off the board yet. We have not had a wide receiver go off the board yet. And this is going to catch a lot of people by surprise because they're going to say, why is this the receiver you're picking?
Oh.
The NFL doesn't fucking like him. The NFL doesn't like him. Why would you ever put him right here? Well, I'm going to tell you one person that I respect greatly. And he slid it to me this way. There is no wide receiver ones in this class. None, which I 100% agree with. Because when you look at a guy like Quentin Johnston, who does not play to his true size, he does not play like DK Metcalf. He plays like Sidney Rice. Yeah. When you look at JSN, he's a stud. Does he fit in this offense? I think he fits in this offense pretty well. Watson, Dobbs, they're missing a guy on the inside, but that's not fun. You know what's fun? Speed. Speed is fun. This player, for this reason, is going to go right here. Jalin Hyatt. I'm taking Jalin Hyatt at pick 15 to the Green Bay Packers because I think that they want speed and they want to give speed. How far down is he? They want to give speed to Jordan Love, Christian Watson on one side, Jalin Hyatt on the other side, and Romeo somewhere off on the bench getting water for the dogs. I'm looking forward to the speed that this brings because when you're looking at it, I talked about it on Twitter. The last 4 years, Christian Watson, 34th overall pick, 5th-year small school breakout, fast. Devonta Smith, 4th-year Heisman, broke out in year 3, route running god. Henry Ruggs, 24.3 miles per hour speed during a game. Jalin Hyatt, 23.6 at the combine. McCole Hardman, speed, 2nd round, 56th overall. He's not going to be a 2nd-round pick. You cannot bet on a 3rd-year wide receiver that's running a 4.40 with 23.6 miles per hour, which is projected to be in the 4.2s. You cannot mock him in round 2, whether you like it or not. And he fits. Think about the speed that they're going to have to take the top off of defenses with Watson on one side. You can put Watson in the slot, I think, and you can put Jalin Hyatt on the outside. That would be ridiculous. Jalin Hyatt, 30-year breakout at big school, 30-year Biletnikoff Award winner, 23.6 miles per hour. Green Bay is where the door opens, and I think that door stays open all the way through Buffalo in round 1, and I think he goes in round 1. But for the sake of this mock, Jalin Hyatt to the Green Bay Packers. And no, again, if I was the GM, I wouldn't do this. Do I think that there's a chance they do this? Yes, and that's why I'm making this selection. It's the wrong selection, but I think there's a chance that he's going to do it, that they're going to do it, and I think you need to keep your eyes open and believe that this is a possibility. Now, I just took about 17 minutes to answer that entire one. Now Washington's on the board, and it's still me, so I'm going to keep on talking. And with the Washington pick, it's only going to take me a split second because Washington's a pretty easy one. They need a few spots filled. Quarterback is filled. It's showing here as a need. They don't need quarterback. I'm going to go. Let me pull up the depth chart quick. I want to make sure that they didn't sign. I really want to go cornerback, truthfully, right here.
Don't take my guy. Don't take my guy. It's our GM in waiting. Don't.
Yeah, I'm going cornerback. 100%.
Stay away. Stay away from. We're gonna see a run, ladies and gents. We're gonna see.
Joey Porter Jr. Washington snipes the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That would be the snipe because that was 1,000% my pick. I do want to talk really quickly about the Green Bay Packers pick. So if you're a Packers fan, you're loving this stream because we allotted 28% of the show to the Packers pick. If they go Jalin Hyatt, I would almost guarantee they go tight end or someone like Charlie Football in the third or fourth and really beef up that pass catching because you would have two absolute freaks running up the field, and then you would have a great pass catching option. But I do think JSN should have been the pick there, but I won't dwell on it any longer. So I am up with Pittsburgh. They are completely reeling because you have stolen their guy. You have stolen their former superstar's son away from them. So now they have to pivot, and I'm gonna stay away from Devon Witherspoon. He hasn't done anything right this whole process. I don't like that. As a GM, I don't like that. So I'm not going that route. I'm going to go with Deonte Banks here. Big, fast. I like what he's been able to do. He's improved each of the last 3 years. And I'm going to go with him here. He did have a pick in his junior season, early declare. I like that. So I'm going to go with the Maryland Terrapin and take him with the Steelers pick here. And then the next up is the Detroit Lions. I think that this pick here might be off the beaten path a tiny bit. He is my personal favorite cornerback in this draft, so we are going to see a little bit of a cornerback run. I did the cornerback write-ups for the rookie guide, so I'm a little bit more familiar with this position than I normally would be. So I am going to take the absolute playmaking skinny boy, Emmanuel Forbes here. I think you match him up with Udoka, and now you have true dynamic cornerbacks. He's got the size. He's a little skinny mini at 165 pounds or whatever he came in at, the lightest frame they've ever seen at the position. But the guy filled up the stat sheet in a way I don't know if I've ever seen at that position. He did it all. Tackles for loss. He got some sacks. He made plays. And Dan Campbell loves playmakers. Dan Campbell now grabs two absolute playmakers to add to the defensive side of the ball. Ooh, now they're truly cooking with gas. Getting Jalen Carter at 6 and my man Emmanuel Forbes at 19, right? 18. Where are we at?
Just so we're clear 18. In the chat, he just took Emmanuel Forbes, who weighs 112 pounds, over Devon Witherspoon.
Yes, I did. I want the playmaker. I like him. I like the playmaker.
All right, let's continue this on. Pick 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Are you taking Bijan? Do you think people are nuts for that mock? I've seen him going there a million times over.
No, I'm going corner. Devon Witherspoon. Bang, 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 bang. 4 corners in a row. Yes. Back on the clock. Pick 20. The Seattle Sea Chickens. Where are you going?
So they got their athletic quarterback at pick 5. Now they are going to get their freak athlete pass rusher. I am going to need some help pronouncing this gentleman's name, but I need to learn it because he was the number 1 defensive athlete in the class. He was the number 1 player athletically in the class and the 3rd most athletic D lineman in the history of our athleticism score. Give me, and I am so sorry, sir, for mispronouncing your name. Do not kill me with your 282-pound frame. Adetomiwa Adebawore. Little Bow Wow. Give me a little Bow Wow. I can't say the poor kid's name. I am so sorry.
Adetomiwa Adebawore.
Perfect. You have to teach me that after the show.
Just ship it. I don't even think I got it right, but you just got to ship it and act like it's right.
Yeah, you made it.
Adetomiwa Adebawore.
Adetomiwa Adebawore.
Fucking menace at the defensive line position. He can play everywhere. Inside, outside. They've been having him labeled as an edge rusher throughout this entire process, combine and the Senior Bowl. And he's a 3-tech. He's a natural 3-tech. Everyone's talked about Calijah Kancey. They tried to push Calijah Kancey up from Pittsburgh a month ago in all these mocks. Mel Kiper did. And Kancey deserves to be at the fringe of round 1, early round 2 area. But he does not deserve to be ahead of Adetomiwa Adebawore. I was talking to a scout in Indianapolis specifically about these two guys, and he's like, you like Kancey over at Adebawore? And I was like, no, I like Adebawore over Kancey, but I'm telling you that the scouting industrial complex, the mock draft industrial complex, likes Kancey more, like substantially more. Like Adetomiwa was going like in the 60s on mocks like a month ago. from the Senior Bowl to the Combine, and then the Combine happens, and then Adetomiwa goes up into the early part of round 2. But I put him in round 1. I think he belongs in round 1. I think this is the spot for him in round 1.
And what sold it for me also was when you were at the Senior Bowl, when you were at the Combine interviewing these kids, routinely his name came up when they were talking to the offensive lineman of who terrorized your life. They brought his name up. And if they can pronounce his name, then that means he left a mark, because that was not easy to say.
All right, you're back in the clock. 21 overall. Are the Chargers going receiver, or are they going receiver?
They are going receiver, and they're going with my wide receiver 1, JSN, Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. He is your Keenan Allen replacement. He's Keenan Allen plus. If he was gone, if say you had taken JSN there with the Packers pick, I would have gone with Jalin Hyatt, because I do love that connection with him and Herbert. But with him falling all the way down to 22, man, that is a blessing for them, and they get their future wide receiver 1.
Spicy. Well, I was going to go wide receiver here at 22 for the Baltimore Ravens, except they signed Nelson Aguilar today, so I don't think I can go wide receiver.
Problems are solved. Problems are all solved.
Yeah, man, I think the problem's solved. I don't think they need to go fill that position up. I think Quentin Johnston, doesn't help this team at all. I don't think Rashad Bateman would like to have a stud like Quentin Johnston in his offense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to skim right past him. Yeah, just kidding. No, we're going Quentin Johnston. No.
That's a good spot.
I mean, you gotta build this team up. Aguilar might play 3 games. Quentin Johnston with Rashad Bateman. Give it to me right here. Jaxon Smith-Njigba 21. Quentin Johnston 22. Minnesota's just raging pissed right now because they were like, "Whoa, we got rid of Thielen, and now we have KJ Osborne, which is good, but he's number 3. We were going to grab one of these 2 guys, and boom, boom, sniped."
I think that I got the Vikings pick here. The Vikings, hey,
the Vikings, You like the Vikings? You want to ask them a question? Yeah,
I'm going to ask them a question. They're in there now. They're going to make their pick. You hoser. I don't know why I always go Cannon. That's really my only accent that I can remotely even come close to doing. But I was scouting cornerback here, but that cornerback run really left it kind of dry. Is there players there? Cam Smith, perhaps? I do think that's a pretty good fit, but he's slipped enough, and they do need some interior D-line help. So give me Bryan Bresee from Clemson, falling all the way down here to 24. I think there are enough receivers late that they could grab that helps a Justin Jefferson. So I think taking a Zay Flowers or something here could be a solid pick, but I don't think it's necessary because they do need to fill some holes if they're going to be competitive in this, this quickly evolving AFC North. So give me Bryan Bresee there to plug up the middle.
Bryan Bresee. I don't know if it's Bresee or Bresee. I never got a real title down there at the Clemson Pro Day. But nonetheless, he looked fantastic. He looked the best out of the 3 interior guys that I saw last week. I saw Bresee, I saw Zach Pickens, and I saw Jalen Carter. And obviously Carter just didn't have a great showing. So I think it's a fine spot. Bresee to the Vikings. I think that's exactly where I had him mocked in my last mock draft. So good on you, putting him right there. I love that spot. I'm back on the clock here, 25th overall. We're going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think speed is also a thing you can look at for here. I put them on that short list for Jalin Hyatt, or should I say long list, because it was definitely not short. Wide receiver. If you can add one more to this defense, I think would be very, very, very lethal.
Wait, wide receiver to the defense? Do I not know football? You're going to add a wide receiver to this defense?
You must not play 9-man or something, or what?
Cody made a mistake.
Darius Williams is currently the cornerback on this defense, opposite of Tyson Campbell, who was a 2nd-round pick 2 years ago. I think they need to add depth to the cornerback position. I think I said wide receiver. Yes, wide receiver would be nice too. They do have Zay. I think they do need a 4th wide receiver outside of these big 3 guys. But cornerback, I think, is the number 1 feature need here, assuming that they trust Calvin Ridley is going to be up and ready to go by week 1, which I think they do. CJ Henderson's gone. Shaq Griffin's gone. How many cornerbacks are left on the board? Let's pop it up on the board right here. We had a bevy of them go just a few minutes ago.
Still some good ones, though.
Kelly Ringo's got pushed up. Darius Rush has got pushed up.
Julius Brents has had a
I'm going
great.
Cam Smith.
I love Cam Smith.
Cam Smith has had a good process. Darius Rush has had a great process. But when I went down to that South Carolina Pro Day, it was affirming. It was what the fuck's the word?
Reaffirming.
Reaffirming to me to see Cam Smith look just like head and shoulders better. Not head and shoulders. He looked head better than Darius Rush. Not head and shoulders. Darius Rush looked really good. But Cam Smith just was like, he was eerily ahead of him. Nose, toes, ankles, feet, hands, nose, toes, ears better than Darius Rush. That's how much better he was, like 6 inches better.
Yeah.
He was better. Cam Smith fits excellent in this defense. He stays on the East Coast, Jacksonville Jaguars. Cam Smith, long-ass answer for a short-ass question.
It's okay.
Cam Smith.
It's okay. Like it. And when you said head over, I got little ones running around the house, so I was thinking head, shoulders, knees and toes, but I'm not going to get into that. Giants are now on the clock, and if I'm the GM, you got to go wide receiver, right? But they keep signing all of the same archetypes of the guys available at this spot in the draft. So are you getting over redundant? Taking a Jordan Addison, taking a Zay Flowers. Yeah, but I don't care. I'm still taking Jordan Addison here. His combine certainly hurt his status. I don't think he would be even close to being available this late in round 1 if he had a better showing at the combine, but I still believe in the tape, still believe in the production. He did it in Pitt, flew all the way across the country, did it with Caleb Williams. So give me Jordan Addison in an attempt to just put together the smallest wide receiver core in the history of foosball.
They don't have any fucking outside receivers. They have one.
I mean, Slayton, right? That's the only guy that they really play out there.
Hodgins. Well, right?
Yeah, well, they have Hodgins.
Slayton's
Slayton.
Slayton's a slight body too, though.
He is. He's not big at all. He's
like
not
Quez.
A big guy at all. He is.
Yeah.
He absolutely is like Quez. But they brought in Jameson Crowder.
You say Addison, right?
I'm taking Addison here. I just think he has the highest ceiling available. I like Zay Jones, obviously, put on some pounds, still ran quick. But I just think Addison here, he can be that type that pushes off, gets all that crust off there. Let's face it. Sterling Shepard, dust. Jameson Crowder, dusty. At the end of the day, you still need to get the best players for those positions. And I still think Jordan Addison has enough to provide a big punch for a team like the Giants.
All right. Dallas Cowboys are OTC right now. It's me here, and then you got back-to-back picks with Buffalo and Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati's looking like they might need a running back. Buffalo's looking like they might need a running back. The Cowgirls just signed Ronald Jones. Do they need a running back?
No, it's solved. They have Ronald Jones.
I think it's solved.
Why would you need a running back when you have
Rojo? I'm going to profess this live on stream right now. I might be on Ronald Jones.
Listen, Ronald Jones, he's not special, but he did okay in Tampa when they just asked him to kind of chug it up the middle. And if you got Tony Pollard on the squad, you're kind of only asking Rojo to do the same shit.
Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be really good. Not really good. I think he's going to be good enough.
That's a spicy meatball.
I think they need defensive line, though, here. And there's no defensive line here. I know they don't like Calijah Kancey. This is one of the ones where it's like you sit here. I was sitting here earlier with what pick? What was I sitting here with? The Falcons. And I was like, where should I go? Where should I go?
Yeah, you run into these walls every so often where you're like, oh, who would I go with here?
You know what I think would make this team really, really, what's the word I'm looking for? Not dynamic, but different. They have Lamb. They have Cooks. They hate everybody else on this roster.
They don't like Gallup. No, they do not like them.
They don't like Tolbert. Fijoko's going to get cut. There's been rumblings of AB, and I've continued to tweet him out. I could be wrong here, but I've continued to tweet him out. This is the only team I've heard that has real interest in AB because they think that they can trust him and roll with him.
Okay.
I'm not even bullshitting. That's
No,
so weird
I
because
get it.
I get so
I
much flack
texted you.
on
What did I
Twitter
text
for
you
it.
the other day? What did I text you the other day?
What? Yeah, you're like, what's up with this AB shit? It's like
I was like, is this a
don't.
bit? You said
No, it's not. It's real
Yeah.
shit. But I mean, it might not happen. But again, like they have to do their due diligence, and they think that they can have him in their in Jesus Lord in their locker room, and he'd be fine. Now the problem is Cooks is getting old. Gallup is on his way out. Lamb is there. Everyone's saying tight end. They love Ferguson. They love Hendershot.
Mhm.
And they actually brought up Sean McKean in a conversation when we were asking about the tight end position. Sean McKean from Michigan, like the third string tight end. They like what they have at tight end. They're not going to waste a first round pick on Michael Mayer. They're going Zay Flowers.
Ooh.
They're going to realize that they can't contain Antonio Brown in that locker room. They're going to realize that they don't want him and his antics, and they're just going to go after and get the younger guy that may be eventually Zay Flowers. Put Zay Flowers into this offense with Cooks, learn from Cooks with Lamb, Gallup. I think this is going to be spicy.
When I was preparing for the show tonight, and I was doing some mocks on my own, I had a name that kept coming back over and over when I drafted here, and I'm just going to throw it out to you, and I want to hear what you have to say about it. Jack Campbell to the Cowboys.
Yep.
That would be, I mean, they drafted Micah Parsons, right? I'm not crazy. He was a middle linebacker coming from Penn State, drafted as such, and then just became the best pass rusher, one of the best pass rushers in the entire league. But Jack Campbell is a freak. He is an all ball hawk type tackler. Whew, I don't know, man. I like it. But what do you think about Jack Campbell? Is that a possibility?
I like Jack Campbell everywhere, dude. You can put him in pretty much any defense. I'd be happy with him.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. My pick is up. Actually, am I back to backers here?
You're back to back right here. We got about 5 minutes till
here.
the Dominator starts.
So I am going back to back offensive line. I am going with the Buffalo Bills, the number one guard in the class, Osiris Torrence from Florida. They need some interior line help. Makes sense. And they need a dog. Someone help me out here. Cody, help me out. Chat, help me out. Did Cody Ford sign to the Bengals this year in this offseason? Is he slated to be their starting right tackle? Is he good enough to be the right tackle?
Cody Ford, yeah.
So he is going to start as their right tackle, or is he interior?
Well, no, because they're looking to get rid of. They signed Orlando Brown. They got Cordell Volson, Ted Karras, Kappa, and Jonah Williams. That's what they're looking at right now.
And they're looking to trade Jonah Williams.
Correct.
So I don't care. I'm gonna stick to it. This is where I would go if I'm the GM. This is what we're doing here. I'm going Dewand Jones with this pick.
Ooh, big nasty.
He's big, and what I like about him is he played right tackle exclusively at the Ohio State Buckeyes team there, because obviously they had Paris Johnson. I think they just signed the big dog to play left tackle. You bring in another big dog to play right tackle. All of a sudden, you got two massive men keeping Joe Burrow upright. So give me Dewand Jones here, right tackle for the Cincinnati Bengals.
I love this one because what you just said, Orlando Brown is there, and I think he's a guy that's similar to, he's catching some similar slack, and I think that he comes in and learns from him. I had I was going to say Anton Harrison picked there, but I had Anton Harrison going to Kansas City Chiefs my last mock. But yeah, so anyway, I like Dewand. I like what Dewand brings to the table. I like the Osiris pick much more, but I think Dewand, he just sounds like a Cincinnati Bengal also. Pick 29.
You're up for three. The three-peat coming up.
I had Adetomiwa Adebawore going to this in my mock. I'm going to go with the other guy, Calijah Kancey right here. I'm going to put him here at pick 29 to the New Orleans Saints. I think that's a good fit. 30, I'm going to go offensive line, and I think this is a guy that needs to get where the fuck is he? Is he at tackle? He can play all 5 positions. I think this is what's going to be the masterclass right here. Cody Mauch. North Dakota State is going to come in here, and he's going to play guard day one. He's going to learn how to play center. He's going to learn how to play tackle. Lane Johnson just signed a 1-year extension. He's going to be a guy that they're just going to plug him in when they need to, and he's going to be an absolute menace on this offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then am I on the clock again for pick 31?
You are.
Holy cannoli, moly, roly doly. Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock right here. We got a lot of guys available. Anton Harrison, I think, is an interesting fit at tackle. Bijan Robinson's not going to be the pick here, so this would mean that he falls out of round 1 if we do not take him right here, as well as Michael Meyer. The team needs, according to PFF, a wide receiver and the defensive line. I think that Will Anderson is indeed an interesting pick. I think Will Anderson going in round 1 is something that we do need to start coming around on and start understanding. He is a little undersized, but he does have an incredible knack for just getting to the quarterback. You look at the DN position right now for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's Carl Loftus, who was their first-round pick last year, and Charles Amani, I think that's how I say it, Amanihu. Yep. Do you know who that is?
No.
Okay. I think the defensive end is a very important piece. Will McDonald's there, but so is Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Felix
so good at those
Anudike-Uzomah is an absolute menace.com. And you can ask our friend, here, look at this beautiful graphic. You can ask our friend Alex Dunlap about Felix Anudike-Uzomah from Kansas State. He is the problem in the Big 12. Him and Will Anderson are the problem in the Big 12, not Tyree Wilson. Now, it's 7:59. We got one pick left, and that is pick 33. We cannot see who's available on the board, so hopefully you have an idea.
I do.
But Pittsburgh Steelers are back on the clock. They took Deonte Banks at 17th overall. Who are they picking 32nd overall, 33rd, whatever? Pittsburgh Steelers, last pick of the draft.
Well, they do need some offensive line help, and he fell long enough, so give me Anton Harrison here. Make it easy, make it quick. I do like the Jack Campbell option, but, you don't have it all the time, and they are picking in the mid part of round 2 again. Maybe he's there for them there, but give me Anton Harrison as they bolster up that offensive line.
So I will say a couple guys that did fall through the cracks in this draft that I do like. Let's see if we can get an expanded list. We can't, so that's cool. That's amazing. That's great. We cannot get an expanded list. But Darnell Wright from Tennessee is a guy that's going to consistently get round 1 conversations. Obviously, we talked about Bijan Robertson. We looked at the wide receiver position. Josh Downs has always been on the cusp right there. Hendon Hooker is a guy that should be conversated in that round 1 area just because of the longevity of the quarterback position and the ability to obtain him for a little bit longer. Joey Two-Times brings up Cody Mauch. Cody Mauch, again, he impressed greatly at the Senior Bowl. People kind of starting to forget about him. I think that they need to reevaluate their processes and remember who that dude is. Yep. Bryan Branch from the safety from Alabama, Trenton Simpson from Clemson, Drew Sanders from Arkansas, just a bunch of names. We got like 45 guys that can really get into that top 31 this year. And the big thing with doing these mock drafts is trying to figure out who that top 31 is. And that is the name of the game for mock drafting. So here's the draft. It's 8:01. The Dominator starting right now. We'll just run through this really quickly, and I want to hear a closing statement from you, and then we'll end this bad boy. Stroud, Young, 1-2, Anderson 3, Levis 4 to the Colts, Anthony Richardson 5 to the Sea Chickens, Jalen Carter 6 to Detroit, Christian Gonzalez, Myles Murphy, Paris Johnson, and Lukas Van Ness close out the top 10. Surprising picks, Jalin Hyatt goes to the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers at 15. We have an onslaught of cornerbacks, including Emmanuel Forbes going to 18th, ahead of Devon Witherspoon, and then Adetomiwa Adebawore going 20th overall. Any closing thoughts? Let's get this bad boy out, ship it to the Dominator. If you're leaving, appreciate you guys tapping in. Go check out the Dominator, the Podfather, and Billy Muzier over there. Any clothing thoughts?
Love my 2 favorite picks: Anthony Richardson to the Seahawks and Christian Gonzalez to the Raiders. And cheers to another good mock, my friend.
I'm out, but I drank my pre-workout. I got to go hit my reservations. Matty K, I appreciate you tapping in. Appreciate you coming and mocking with me. I think we got to figure out how to do another show together. We only do these occasionally, and we got our Players Lounge, which is every other week. But I think we got to figure out a way to get on a show together because these are always just so easy. So I appreciate you, man. And
Cody, I will do Friday night shows with you, my man.
Let's do a daily show then. What do you think about that?
You ain't gonna. You can't. Don't tempt me with a good time.
All right. Well, I did want to say one thing. We had a poll in the chat on YouTube. Wide receiver 1 off the board. The real NFL draft. Who's it going to be? Between the 4 options. Number 1 was JSN, 79%. Number 2, Quentin Johnston, 14%. Number 3, Jordan Addison, 7%. You can tell those numbers add up to 100%. So that means there is a 0% chance that Jalin Hyatt is the first wide receiver off the board in the real NFL draft, according to the Player Profiler chat. So until next time, Check out the game plan tomorrow morning
Yes, sir.
and have a good evening. The Dominators next.
Peace.